Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Here's one of the many things I think used to be simpler than they are now. The good guys and the bad guys used to be so clear growing up. Hansel and Gretel? Good. The witch with a house made of candy who tries to eat them? Bad. The Little Mermaid? Good. The Sea Witch? Bad. The Three Little Pigs? Good. The Big Bad Wolf? Obviously bad. Since I grew up reading the Bible at the same time as I was reading fairy tales, I thought the Bible to be the same. There are good guys and there are bad guys. And I became really good at spotting them. Moses, David, Esther, Mary, good. Bathsheba, Saul, Aaron, the Israelites, basically bad. Time has had me go back to some of the stories and the judgments I used to hold to and rethink them. Rarely is anyone wholly good or wholly bad. And where God is involved, God can redeem our stories in such incredible ways. Take the book of Ruth, for example. Ruth always appeared to me, and perhaps was taught to me, as being the good daughter, the one who does the right thing, takes care of her mother-in-law, and restores her faith, ultimately becoming one of the women in Jesus' lineage. Good. But Orpah, her sister-in-law, bad. She didn't go, she didn't care for the Israelites. And Naomi, faithless, complaining, bitter, bad. I hope this series on the book of Ruth will help you to rethink these roles that we've cast for people in scriptures, especially these three. We are in Ruth chapter 1 today, starting in verse 6. It says, when Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness, as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people. But Naomi said, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters. It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the 2 women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them, and the women exclaimed, can this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Again, I feel like it's important to see the clues of how Naomi held on to her faith at this point. When she heard God was providing for the people, she decided to go back. I can imagine how difficult of a choice this would have been, but she hears this word and believes the provision to be from God. She also tries to do the right thing by her daughters-in-law by sending them back. She knows it will be very difficult for them, not only being widows, but being outsiders from a nation that felt so in opposition to God and his people. She does wish that the Lord will bless them before she sends them back. And now, to both their credit, they do attempt to go with her. I wrote about Orpah in my book that she went beyond what was expected of her. Yes, she did eventually go home. That was the right choice for her. But I don't think she should be villainized for that. Would her life have been impacted by being part of God's people? Absolutely. And who knows how being part of a family that worshiped God would have affected her down the line. We just don't know. All I want to say is she cared for her mother-in-law and she did try to go with her. Ruth is a sign of Naomi and her family's faith. The fact that she was willing to leave behind her people and their practices was a testimony to what she experienced within the family. She even swears by the Lord, which is a big deal. The Enduring Word commentary even makes this point. 10 years of Naomi's compromise in Moab never made Ruth confess her allegiance to the God of Israel. Yet as soon as Naomi stood and said, "I'm going back to the God of Israel, I'll put my fate in his hands," Ruth stood with her. And then Naomi faces her family and friends back home. She even makes the statement that her grief has changed her identity from Naomi, meaning pleasant, to Mara, meaning bitter. While she questions God's actions, she does not question God's existence. Her faith is shaky, but intact. In her book, Whispering the Word, Jacqueline Lapsley makes these points. First, the term dealt harshly, as Naomi says, is a judicial term similar to Job. The complaint is that God has prosecuted and punished her. She also says the hand of Yahweh, which here is associated with distress and misfortune. God specifically also seems to go against her as a widow, even though widows are meant to be protected. Naomi accuses him of hostility and wickedness, intentionally dropping her to the most vulnerable position. Lapsley says, expressing anger without reserve and aggressively challenging the powerful to respond to injustice in the world are masculine behaviors. Indeed, as is often the case with behaviors that are associated positively with men, but negatively with women. In Naomi's mouth, a Joban anger against the deity may be viewed negatively because she is a woman. It can appear unseemly for a woman to rail at the deity. And with this comes the idea that she should accept meekly the hand she's been dealt. One of the notes I wrote down from this reading was this: Naomi makes it feminine to shake your fist and ask questions and express your distress. Job is seen as bold for addressing God with his complaints. Naomi can be seen as whining. Have you ever heard it described that way? Have men been pitted against women in this area? Here's what we know. Their stories are told two very different ways. Job's is more like an examination. Naomi's is told with intimacy and care. The point of the book of Ruth is seeing how Naomi is restored to relationship, community, family, and well-being, and the people who help to make that happen, specifically Ruth and Boaz. It's also about how an outsider is brought into the people of God and how her faith shines as an example. We'll keep looking at this in the next few days.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.